This is part 5 of It's Never Your Fault, my story of surviving incest. It's very obviously a new day. I needed a little time to continue on this series and this journey. So I apologize for the darkness of the last video, but I was rolling with it. So I felt like, the lighting wasn't that important. Anyway, so back where I left off, we are on our way back to Denver, Colorado, with my mom and my dad and my 2 dogs after the incident and after my grandfather's funeral. Now, there's a lot of things going through my mind at this point. The number one thing being, believe it or not, it's the fact that it was my first time. I was dealing a lot with that. Realizing that I hadn't ever had that experience with anyone else, and how it ended up happening was definitely not how I imagined it happening. So I still had a lot of curiosity left. I still knew everything was wrong about it. And that was one of the hardest things to get through. I told you guys that I was going to be honest, and I told you that I was going to be real because I feel like it's necessary. The fact that I knew that I wanted to be intimate with someone, and the fact that the first time I was that way with someone, it wasn't right, was really, really conflicting in my mind. And I'm really grateful for therapy at that point. And I'll later on get to therapy and how I got into that and work with that. But that was a huge internal struggle for me. I knew that I wanted some of those actions to eventually happen to me at some point in my life. Now, was it that way? No, I did not want any of that at all from him, ever. Let that be very clear. If you have not watched the other videos, I implore you to go back and see where I'm coming from with this. But that was hard. So we get back to Denver, Colorado, and I have a dark secret. I have a big dark secret, and my way of dealing with it is acting like everything's okay. What am I gonna do? Tell my parents? The act is over. I survived it. My body's healing. I wasn't completely, I didn't need to go to the hospital or anything, so I was like, okay, let's just move on with my life and I'll be fine. And about a week passes. And this part of the story, I don't know, but I think I still struggle with this just a little bit. The way that I told my parents, I don't think was necessarily the right way. And this is why. I believe that I told my parents in a way for me not to get in trouble for something else I had done. Let me clear that up. So I think I've always been a good kid. My parents say that I was, but in high school, I was kind of an asshole, like most teenagers are, I think, to a degree. So I did a lot of things that I shouldn't have done, and I lied a lot. I did what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. And there were a lot of repercussions for that. So I always felt like I was, well, not felt like, I was always grounded for something. I was always justified things, mind you. I was always in some type of trouble, I feel like. But this particular day, I remember I was wearing my mother's contacts, and I wasn't supposed to be wearing my mom's contacts. And she said, we were talking or getting ready in the morning, and she saw like something in my eye, and she was like, what is that? And I was like, oh, it's nothing. And she's like, come here, let me look in your eye. And she's like, are you wearing my contacts? And I'm like, no, I'm not. And then of course I was. And she got mad again. Here I was doing something again that I shouldn't be doing. And I remember going to my room and being like, maybe I should say something now. And that's what I chose to do. So I don't know if that is appropriate. I don't think that paints me in the best of light. But that's the truth. So there it is. The first person I decided to tell was my dad. And I remember my mom being downstairs or something. My mom was somewhere else. I think she was downstairs. And my dad was in his bedroom, and I asked Dad if we could talk, and he said yeah. And I remember telling him, I don't think I apologized for acting strange. I might have said something like, I may have been acting a little different lately. And it's like as soon as I said that, number one, there was no going back. I had to tell my dad, like, here we go. The second thing is, now that I've gone through some self-healing, I think that I was looking for an excuse or a reason to say something. I didn't keep much from my parents. Besides, like, the whole coming out of the closet not being the best of ways for me in particular, I have a very close relationship with my parents, you know what I mean? So keeping something like that, of which I knew was completely wrong, away from them, I didn't really think I could do that for the rest of my life. Again, why I chose to play that card at that moment, I don't know. But nonetheless, I'm glad that I did, because at least it got it out there, and at least it began that intense journey of dealing with what happened to me. So I said to my dad, Dad, we need to talk, and I may have been acting a bit strange lately. And it's because something happened to me when I was in Kentucky for Grandpa's funeral. And Dad put down his book, and I remember him looking at me, concerned, with his full attention. And I'm not trying to break this up or be dramatic, but I see that we're getting close to 10 minutes, so I'm going to stop here for now.